Conversation, 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 conversation. Life's journey. Hey, conversation, 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 conversation. Let's talk about it.
Hello, everyone. You're welcome to Conversations with Muji. Conversations is a program where we get to express ourselves and share our life's journey. And today, I'm really honored to have one of the Commandos from 87 set. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself to us. So over to you. Welcome, Alex. Welcome to Conversations. So tell us briefly your full name, what you do, where you live, and the house you were in command.
That's a good one. Thank you, Muji, for this. So I would start by saying, okay, well, my name is Alex Okonkwo. I'm number 3 of 4 other siblings that went to command. So we're 5 boys who all went to command. 87 sets, as you rightly mentioned. Scorpion House. And we were what we will call the children of Colonel Eli Lawal. He was our commandant for quite a while. I think we had him for 3 years. So that was really exceptional. So I consider my set a gifted set to have been trained by that kind of person. So that said, what else did you ask me? I've forgotten a few of the questions.
Where you live?
Where do I live? Yes, I live in Europe now. I would say I live partly in France and partly in Czech Republic because I did a training in the Czech Republic. So I'm in Europe at the moment.
Yeah. So what do you do?
I'm currently in Nigeria now.
Okay. So what do you do?
Yes, I work in media and marketing. So specializing in sports media. So we create events, we do brand awareness, we do all sorts of things that can give you a name. I'm trying to say it in a layman's way, but all attached to sports and sporting events. So it's very, very, very fast, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I'm trying to think about, I see some of those brands where they're playing soccer or something. Does that include what you do?
Well, yes, it could be that. That's the big picture that people get to see. But it could also be taking events to where, for example, imagine you see a swimming pool on the major street in Marina. If you remember Marina Broad Street, just imagine you see a swimming pool, like a swimming event. Definitely you'll be curious to find out what's going on. So you see, we create things out of the box. We take a football match to maybe in front of a church. We take a tennis competition to a major road between Lagos Ibadan Expressway. You see, you try to create those things that will, in a way, shock people to talk about. It could be an event. It could be the WHO talking about health, talking about safe polio. So it doesn't have to always be a brand, but it's more about the message. But of course, we have to survive. So I also work essentially for brands because they are the ones that will pay the bills at one time. But it's just to say it is above that. It could be a message. It could be for example, we're thinking, conceptualizing something about a Bonfre Foundation, where Bonfre, as a former coach of Nigeria, can give back to very, very young Nigerians who want to go into sports. But you see, it can be done through various ways. But we just want to catch the public in a situation where the public will not understand what's happening. It's the shock that will bring you to us, and then you'll be interested in the sporting event as well. So it's quite vast. It's quite vast. It's very interesting.
That was very interesting. That was very interesting. Well, tell us, how did you get to this point? We'd like to know your academic background, your journey. How did you arrive at where you are today?
Good. That's a good one. Well, I was part of that generation that finished in command very early, finished 87, so we were quite young when we came out of school. And then we had issues with JAM. You keep taking the exam, you don't get the right results, or they take you for the school you don't want to go to, or you miss your first choice but you get second choice. So after doing that for a while, I left in the 1990s. Actually, 1990, I left for Italy. I was already playing football. So I went to Italy to play football at a very young age. So I stayed there for a while and decided to further my education. So I studied in France. I did media and marketing for like 4 years. I didn't study in Nigeria. That's high school. I didn't do tertiary university study in Nigeria. I did all of them abroad. And I believe we can always learn at any age. So I studied a bit later than most of our guys. And then went on to Czech Republic to do a master's in international relations. So on one hand, I have a degree in media and marketing, which is my core profession. But looking at the global situation, I also went back to study to do a master's in international relations and European security studies. So I'm under two umbrellas kind of.
I must say you have a very unique story. Because I know at that time, 87, 88, most parents probably wouldn't have thought of allowing their kid or their child go abroad to go and play soccer. How did that happen?
Well, honestly, you're right. My parents did not allow me. I had an uncle who was already in Italy, and it was kind of, we did a kind of arrangement for me to be able to go without the full authorizations of my dad particularly. So everybody else was on we're like complices in my family to make sure I went, and except my dad. Of course, over the years, he came to accept that. But you're very correct. That was a generation where when you mention football in your house, parents didn't want to hear about that. Of course, it's quite different now. If you play football now, they will be the ones that carry you to the stadium.
Definitely.
So, it was fun. It was fun to have done that way. I learned quite a lot over there. So I don't regret it at all.
For 4 years, as a young child, you should have learned a lot. Did you have family there or someone as a guardian?
Yes, I have cousins who are brothers.
Okay. So how was that experience?
Well, yes, the thing is this. We, as a black man, and I'm sure you understand this part, you're abroad as well. The difficulty was in the 90s was to live in a country like Italy that on one hand wasn't used to blacks as such, especially at that time. And on the other side was curious enough to be open. Of course, there were issues of racism, but it's not the kind of racism you get in US or UK, which I classify as a qualified racism. They know you guys are capable. They know the blacks are capable. They know we're educated, but they prefer not to do with us. The Italian kind of racism we had then was that they didn't know anything about us. They didn't know our qualities, but they preferred to avoid it. So you can be a racist by negligence. It's not because you're trying to be racist. It's because you're saying you don't want to hurt this person, and then you do without the person. I'm sure you see what I'm trying to say here. The kind of situation where you go into a place and people don't want to hurt your feelings, and then by doing so, they don't want to talk to you. That act is racist, but people don't know it. You're already discriminating because you're assuming that the person is not, is not similar to you in various ways. We'll probably go into that later because I saw a few of the topics you mentioned. It gave me one of my key principles that I work. I don't believe there is multicultural. In all these big societies, they mention multiculturalism, mix of culture. Muji, there is no multicultural. All these years taught me one thing. Look, if I tell you, what would you put music under? Music and listening to music is culture. So what is multicultural about music? From India to Saudi Arabia to US, everybody listens to music. We're not multicultural in that sense. We are unicultural. We all listen to music. We don't have to listen to the same type of music, but music as a subject of culture is unique. We are all listening to music. Just like dressing, fashion design is culture. It is not multicultural. What is different is the type of fashion. That is your dress, the adire we wear in Nigeria and the jeans they wear in the US. That's what's different. But the act of wearing a dress to go to an event is a culture. So we often say multicultural because we don't have a good example of what to use, a better word. But in reality, culture is the same, like going to eat together in a family. The Indian families eat together. The Nigerian families eat together. The Italian families. So what is multicultural about that? There's nothing. So we grew up in Italy. I'll come back to that. We grew up in Italy at an era where Italians didn't know much about blacks. So they thought we have various, very different cultures. But in reality, no, we're very similar. It's just what we do that is different. But we all cry for the same things. We listen to the same music. We love sports. So, but those things changed over the years. I was talking about in the 90s, and that's already almost 40 years ago. So fine.
That's very true. That's very true. We're all very similar.
Yes.
They're all very similar. And but then I'm thinking, so why did you stop playing soccer?
Yes, I got into, I had several injuries that kept on coming back in those days, and it was not easy to treat. I am aware now that they can treat them very easily now. But in the 90s, in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was not so easy to treat. And then, of course, some of us, they're not having people ahead of us in that particular domain, didn't have the necessary advice. It's really about life's chances is really about somebody to guide you. And this is something you relate to very quickly. The word wealth, in this part of the world, we consider wealth we use the only value is monetary wealth. But you know very well, outside the country, wealth has that advice will cost you $100 million. You would want that advice than the money. So some of us then in the 90s didn't get this kind of mentorship or advice that we can give to the younger ones now. So we were going into things that we didn't really know. So when I had those series of injuries, I felt it was better to stop and do something else than to continue in that domain. But of course, today, medically, in terms of medical science, those injuries can be repaired, and they actually are being repaired. So yes, I stopped because of the injuries.
Okay, so if there was someone, maybe a child or someone that just left command, or a young, maybe 2020 set, and the person is watching this, and the person feels like playing soccer, what would you advise the person?
Oh, definitely, definitely. One thing I know that people that will help people today is you have to first be somebody at home. It's very important because I'm keen on respect now. I like the fact that people can respect you for what you are. So do sports at home first, at home being in Nigeria, to some level. It could be amateur level, to professional level. Then find greener pastures abroad. Now, when I say abroad, I don't necessarily mean just Europe. There's nothing that stops you from playing football in Ghana, South Africa, in Morocco, to build your personality. The basic European team now wants a sports person that has a personality. I'm not saying you should be old, but a personality. You know exactly what you want to achieve. Once you can do that, the sky is the limit. Now, we might be, we're the same generation more or less, so we know how our parents valued education. I would still put it somewhere. Because at the end of the day, when you stop doing sports at the age of 35 or 38, you will still have to fall back on something. And it'd be good to have a kind of educational background, academic background, so that you can do something else. Because that's a very young retiree kind of, at 38, at 35, you're retired very young. You still have a lot to do. So I wouldn't leave education out of it, but I would say build a personality in sports before going into the professional world. And that is a lot of problems that are created for young people now. So personality building will be key.
It's very key. And why I'm asking you that question, because really, we didn't have mentors. We didn't have people to tell us, guide us in many ways. And I'm asking that because I'm like, how much can we also give back? With everything that we now know, how are we able to give back to these younger ones? Especially those in command.
But that's why we have groups, what I call active groups or lobby groups. For example, if we talk about command, so at least let's start with what we can manage. The command alumni should actually be doing this. You see, as we grow older, the first, second, and third sets of command cannot be thinking of repairing the toilet in command anymore. That's not it. They can't be meeting each other, but they can be meeting each other to see how they can mentor the younger ones, even those who are still in command, who haven't left the school. It would be nice to know when you are still a student that there's somebody that left your school, passed out from your school, and is a major general in the army. He's going to tell you what it takes. You see what I'm saying? You're going to meet somebody who's a a senior banker. He's going to tell you while you're still at school, look at the studies you have to do. That's where we are missing it. While we're all trying to repair the football ground, the toilet in the school, the dormitories, we keep forgetting that beyond the edifice, the school, it is about the students, because they will be the future alumni of the school. You know, every year somebody is passing out of the school. So I would insist more on the human side of it than the building edifice or building, repairing some, which I'm not saying is not important, but in my case, it will not be primary, it will be secondary in this case. So this is because we can only work within the framework that you can give yourself. And I think we are very lucky to have gone out from that school, we have attended that school, and we can only give back to the students who are about to leave that school. That's what I see that the alumni should be. For example, that could be a way of
very brilliant.
giving back.
Thank you for that. Thank you. That was really, really brilliant. Thank you so much. It's something that I also believe in humans. I believe in the people.
Yes.
You know, yeah, we can build everything we want to build. We can build everything, but the substance, you know, the substance in those that come out of command is so important that we put in something in them.
In fact, in various conversations, I had some ideas that we were discussing. I'll put one through to you. You see, there must have been, okay, the school, I mean, probably almost 50 years now. So it's easily we have like 40 sets that have passed out or are going to pass out very soon. Why don't we have a command event center, like a command bar, somewhere in Lagos, central Lagos, very central location. When I say bar, I mean a location where people can meet, where command events can take place, where if you're going to give a lecture, you can give it. It's a small place, it's a small, cozy place, but like owned by the alumni of command, where we can all meet, where there will be notice boards for employment, for whatever, marriages, whatever, you know, even people that have lost their parents, it can be announced there, physically, I mean, where when you're passing out from the school, you know you can move into something. There's something that actually exists physically. Yes, we're in the social media era, but there are also real, you want to also see real people. And you know why this would be interesting? Imagine your set, you guys want to meet. It will be easy to say, let's go and meet at the command center. Everybody knows where it is. You don't have to say we're going to Moji's house or Alex's place. No, we're all going to the command center. You know we can be there. Whatever time you get there, you will meet another commando. Could be your set, could be another set. Are you seeing where I'm coming from? These are the things we can do. And it's not impossible. And it can be run commercially in the sense that it doesn't have to be a failure commercially. People will participate. When you're coming there, you contribute. When you're there, you consume. Even if it's just drinking tea, you pay for the tea. Because the alumni, over time, should become a network, a strong network, where governors will come out from there, ministers will come out from there. That's how you create value. It's not about meeting every time and trying to repair something. It's about networking, making it bigger. Because every year, like I said, somebody passes out from the school. And so every year, there's a new alumnus from the school. So what are we talking about? And then that brings me to the point I told some people in the current school, why are we still paying the fees 5,000 individually and yearly? Moji, honestly, for how long can you pursue somebody to find out if he has paid his due? Imagine the first sets, they're close to 60 years old. A 60-year-old man is calling another 60-year-old man to know if he has paid his 5,000 naira due. It already sounds funny. Why are we not doing a block payment where each set is supposed to pay 100,000 naira yearly? And then we pay it. Whichever way the set now gathers the money is their problem, as long as they pay it. Are you seeing what I'm saying? We don't go around chasing each other up and down for 5,000 naira. Who's going to do that? You know, at a certain age, you don't want to do that anymore. So if we get the first 15 sets that have left command, the first 15 sets, they're all doing well now, more or less. You tell them, look, you guys pay 150,000 yearly as a block. That's it. It has paid the dues of every set member. How we raise the money is our problem. But that is the block payment that we want from your set. You see what I'm saying? Because we can't go for how long can you keep, you know, it makes the job of the EXCOs difficult. But these are little ideas we have. So, you know, we're already pushing our ideas in there. That's
great. That's really nice. I'm sure the alumni is hearing this, the EXCO is hearing this. And that's a very good thought. I mean, it helps them, and it actually gets more people involved. More people will be involved in the work. Yes. Yes. Because I'd rather give it to my set than give it to, you know, some people.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. Of course.
That's true. I agree with you. That's interesting. Wow. Okay, so back to you. I mean, I'm
Yes,
just really
yes,
consuming.
good,
So
good, yes.
yeah. So after so you did your masters in the Czech Republic, and you still
Yes,
live there. You still live there, right?
yes, actually, yes.
Okay, so there's this thing about Bonfre. You already talked about the Bonfre General
Foundation,
Foundation, rather.
yes.
Yes. So there's this thing about the video. This picture with Sonjo, you, and
Uh,
yeah, the picture will come up when we're doing. Yes, it's going to come up later. There's this video. So what happened? Can you tell us a bit? Sonjo has told us how, with his own side of it.
okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we'd like to hear how was it? What happened?
Well, it's a lovely story actually, because I mean, most of the young our generation that watched football in the 90s, we all remember Bonfre Joe as a major coach of Nigerian football team. Now he led the team to winning the Olympic gold medal in the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, US. When I got into football media, sports media, like I mentioned, marketing and all that, I said we should get a documentary about that era for future generations. You know, we don't do documentaries in Nigeria a lot. We don't we don't greet our own heroes, which you would easily see on BBC and CNN. But Nigeria, nothing like that. So I went on about the mission, and of course, the first person to get will be the head coach, so Bonfre. So I went to Holland, went to meet him, and then we had a conversation about it. Over the conversation, he dropped in his box. He had a box where he had the medal they gave him. Nigeria gave him an MON, something like a national medal as well, and he had some certificates. A document dropped, which was like a document signing that he should get a house for that victory. He should get a house from the Nigerian government. And I picked it up and I said, oh, so you actually do have a house in Nigeria, but you don't come to Nigeria. Mind you, then when I met him, it had been 20 years since he hadn't set foot on Nigeria. So he said, no, he never got the house. I picked up the document, got a photocopy, and I said, look, I know somebody who can work on this file and will be able to do something. Bonfre, in his typical manner, said, look, I don't care. It's been over 20 years. It's not a problem. You do what you want and all that. So, of course, naturally, I took the document, and the first person I thought about was Sonjo Lawal. I've known Sonjo for like over 30 years. So there was not even doubt about that. So I called him I was abroad then, and I called him and I told him, and Sonjo immediately jumped. He said, no. Definitely, there's no way. Bonfre Joe, we must do something. So he went about all the legal, a lot of things went. I'm sure he must have explained. It was quite a process. It's a 2-year process. That's what people don't know. It took Sonjo and his team 2 years to finalize getting him the house in Abuja. The house itself is not the deal. The value was that we were compensating somebody that helped us to achieve something international. And Fashola mentioned it clearly. The minister Fashola mentioned it clearly. It was not about the value of the house, because how much could the house have been in Abuja? I mean, that's not much. But we were giving to somebody something that that really symbolizes the effort he had made for a country that is not his. In fact, I said it there during an interview on TV, that if there was a way to become a citizen by merit, just by merit, not by being born, not by marriage, not by Bonfre would have been Nigeria, because we won a gold medal. We were the first African country in the world to win a gold medal in football. I mean, that achievement moved all of us and moved Fashola as well. So Sonjo was for a lot of it. He really did a good job. I remember he did I'm just guessing, maybe 7 or 8 trips to Abuja, flights, regularly seeing the minister and all that, negotiating distant sites and all that. And when he finally worked out, we now worked up a media plan to make sure it happens just before the World Cup, so that, get enough noise around it, which is what I tell you, that's what we do. So, you now plan how you create an event to make sure it gets the big publicity it deserves. So it was worth doing, and worth doing with a friend. That's fantastic. So no regrets at all. It was good.
That's really nice that you thought of a classmate, because I'm thinking you probably would have thought of somebody else. In the course, could have been anybody else. But
they will have taken us to court. If I had used somebody else, they would have taken us to court. There's no way we will have done that without using Sonjo.
That's wonderful. True. Yeah. I'm really enjoying, this conversation with you. And I'm thinking, can you tell us some of the things you have, from your experience in life, what has life taught you, and what would you say life is to you?
Well, that's a good question. I as we grow a bit older, more matured, I would say, I begin to see that there's a boomerang effect. The things you do come back. You might not be alert enough to notice them, but the things you do come back one way or the other. And I mean this both in the good and the bad side. So this might be scary for some people. Over the years, I've realized that every time I did a good deed somewhere along the line, I got it back. So I'll give you a typical example. You go to a foreign country and you seem to help people that you don't really know. And then you're surprised that when things happen to you, people that you don't know come to help you. I think it just makes common sense. And if you're a Christian, you would understand that it makes common sense that because you're helping people without asking what they can do for you, you're also getting people help you. And that's why I don't count the fact that you help your sibling help. That is just due. It's normal. What I count as help is when you help people that you don't really know. If you can appreciate people that you don't really know, people you meet along your life journeys. And I've met quite a lot of people. Now, the person that has really changed me recently, and that's because my memories are fading, but recently, is a professor I had in international relations. He's a Czech professor, a very old man. He's about 80-something now. And he once told me that you can't keep complaining about an issue. You can't keep criticizing about an issue. The first thing there is that it shows you that that issue is of interest. Obviously, because if you keep talking about something, it's of interest. The second thing is that it's never going to change unless you do something about it. And it was fair. He said, when I say do something about it, it's either forget the issue, because that means it's over, or actually go in and act about it. And so I've been trying to practice that ever since. So in all these things about our school, about life, I try to bring in a bit of what I can contribute so that we can change something. Because there's no point criticizing, complaining. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I went to do international relations and security studies. With all the things happening in Nigeria now, I feel in the near future, some of us can be useful if we are called upon. So that's something I now believe that besides criticizing, act on it. No matter how small, act on it.
You know, for the first one you said, I'm thinking, whatsoever a man sows, that shall he reap.
Exactly. Very correct. Very correct.
It's not about sowing good. It
yes.
will come back.
True. Very correct. That's true. It will
come back, you know, and that's really fascinating because sometimes we do some things and we forget that things come back in one way or the other.
Yes.
Yes.
And I tell it to those that I meet and for free that as Christians we are on a path, we are on a journey. You know, just imagine a long road leading you to somewhere. On that journey, there are people you're going to meet and there are people that are going to meet you. Some of those people you have to help. It's part of your job as a Christian to help them. And some of the other people, it's part of their job to help you. So, but they are on your path. So you're going to meet people that need your help and you're going to meet people that you need them. And that's the way it should work out. It shouldn't be confusing in terms of what we want to achieve. So you keep your eyes open because on your path, you must have people that you have to help. And on that same path, there are some people that are there just to help. So that's how I see Christianity. It's not just about, you know.
And that's just life. We're all there. No man is an island. We're all connected.
Yes.
We're all connected. You know, somebody shared with me something about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
That is your wealth. Your
True.
relationships.
True.
That's your wealth.
That's true.
Very, very, very true. Very, very true. Very, very true. So you were talking about some of the principles you live by.
Yes.
Would there be any other principle you live by?
Well, that's the key one. The thing is, I use it more like examples of things that I live or that happen to me. Now, I wouldn't remember all of them. But personally, I often get paid in cash what I do, good or bad. So I stick to that part of doing as much good as possible around me, because I get paid cash for it. So when I also do bad, I get paid cash. That's the downside of it. So I'm quite aware about that personally. I think it takes a lot of maturity to get to a point where you know how things work for you. You see, and I've learned. Okay, this one I learned from my dad. He's late now, but don't take up battles that you cannot finish. He didn't say win. You see, it's a tiny thing. He said, don't take up battles that you cannot finish. It doesn't mean you have to win them, but you cannot finish. Because even when you lose, the lessons you learn are great. So when I see issues that come up, I'd rather take up the one I know I can finish. And when I get to the end, I'll see the lessons from it, good or bad. And that, I try to practice that as well. That's probably another one. But that one was from my dad over the years. So that's a key one for me too.
Wow. Don't take a battle that you cannot, don't take on the battle that you cannot finish.
Finish, yes. It's not win, no. The point is not, you don't have to win all of them, but make sure you can finish and get to the end of it. Get to the end of it. You will learn things. In fact, that's why it's even healthy. We learned that as well at school. To interrogate people, discuss with people, dispute with people. Because those things you think you know, somebody might be bringing an argument, a point that you have never looked at it that way. Even if it's not to say you are wrong or right, it might buttress your own point. So it's healthy to actually have arguments, discussions on things, because you'll be surprised how it can help your own point, to develop your own point on issues. So it's quite good. We do that often now. I mean, it's quite good. It's quite good.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Wow. I mean, there's a lot you have communicated already. I'm thinking more, I'm really looking at it, and that one of a battle that you cannot finish is staying with me. I mean, and that's very, very true. Yes. And you have any challenging situation? Any situation that was so, tough on you?
Well, recently, no. Fortunately, no. But of course, I lived abroad for over 30 years, so you can imagine easily the life of a young man abroad. So a lot of the problems were mostly linked to, like I said earlier, problems linked to race, culturalism, not understanding each other, all those kind of things. But in terms of serious challenges, I would say I'm more on the fortunate side, because I've seen people who have had worse cases. But of course, I've learned from various things. I've also learned that people can actually love you for just what you are. I would remember a case, I wouldn't like to read the details exactly, where once again we were confronted with a difference of race. And the person who brought us to that event, all this happened abroad, actually went out with us. A white man actually said he couldn't believe in his country things like this could happen. And he followed us out. That's we, the black team, the black people involved in that thing. That was the first time as a young man I saw somebody doing something for pure love, the real pure love. We didn't know the person, no contact. He just felt that was injustice. The pure injustice. When that happens and you see somebody actually showing that he's on your side for no evident reason.
No obvious reason.
Those things can happen. And anybody who's lived abroad for a while can relate to that, because obviously you must have had that experience once or twice in life, if you've been living abroad, especially as men. I don't know why this happens often with men, because when you know very well that when we talk of immigration, what we talk of immigration in Europe is men. Nobody really counts women as immigrants. You see the pictures, always men. So we had it rough in the 90s. Not like now when there's social media and all that, when you can take videos of police harassment, all those things you can do now. But in the 90s, I mean, you couldn't do that. I remember having protested and rioted in Italy because foreigners were not given rights to accommodation. So we had to do a riot, serious riot, protest, like the ones we're having now with NSAS. And this, I'm talking about 30 years ago. And you can imagine foreign black people doing a riot in Italy. The first question the Italians will ask you, what are you doing here? If you're not happy, go home. You know that phrase. But we fought for it. Look, we didn't get houses, but people after us got houses. Because of that, the law changed. We didn't benefit from it. In fact, we were detained for it, because that's how they do it then. We were detained for it. So many, many years after, last year, when we had some young men in Lagos who were going to do NSAS, some of them came home And I had the opportunity to talk to them. And I told them, look, if you're going to riot for something, the first thing you should know is how do you stop the protest? It's not the question about the protest is not how you start it, it's how do you stop it. So at what point do you decide to stop? Is it when the government talks to you? Is it when there's an announcement? Because it gets quickly out of control, and it did, because they didn't prepare the exit. They prepared how to meet, but nobody ever said, at what point are we going to say everybody go home? And so I learned that several years ago, so we have that experience. So that again is one of the, I'm thinking about it now, one of the life experiences that was tough then, that gives me a bit of background. Like I said, one of the reasons why I went into international relations, because I wanted to understand more about global governance. So it helps me in my life, actually, to understand how these things work from the back.
Wow. That's really nice. That's really nice. So, I mean, it's always good to have people that can, stand in front and do the work. Yeah, clear the way for others.
It's true. Yes. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Very correct.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Would there be anything you'd like to leave with? Any other thing you'd like to leave with us before we close?
Well, I mean, I would like to. I've not been able to do it myself, but it would be nice if most commandos can also be going back to command to see how the school is. This it's something I would really like to do with in a friendly environment. Go and hang out with the students, find out what they're doing. This mentorship you're talking about, bring ourselves to their level, explain to them how things can be. Because I'm sure most of us would have liked to have this kind of environment too. I remember when we were young in command, some of the things we looked up to was when the NDA cadets came to school. I don't know if you remember, when the cadets who were in NDA, they came to school and they paraded like officers and all that. Obviously, it inspired some of us to go into the army and the forces. The same thing can be done with those in various professions, in oil and gas, in banking. People should be able to come back to the school freely and hang out. Why not go to the class during the class and be the one to talk for 10 minutes about what you do? I mean, during the class session.
Yeah, they're very casual.
More social inventivity, kind of. And everything should not be very formal. It can be very informal.
Yes.
I can imagine the eyes of a young man in command, a young boy in command, if he sees a major general in his uniform or a DIG in his uniform coming to school to speak to him about joining the police. Look, I'm going to tell you, you're going to see 200 commandos who want to be policemen. You see, that's the kind of thing I would like to see us do. But we'll work towards it. Like I said, I'll follow my father's footsteps. Don't criticize, but act. So we'll probably act on that. That will be the next thing we should be doing, so that we'll get people to go back to command and tell people what's happening out there.
We need to act. Yeah. Not
yes.
Criticize. Yeah.
Yes, criticize is not enough. Definitely not enough.
I always tell people the fact that you notice that thing means God wants to do something about it.
Yes, I believe so too. I believe so too, because at the end of the day, we're going to create the country that we want. We're really in Nigeria. I'm talking about. We're going to create the country that we want, and that country is an equation of small steps by people. So it starts with your school, it starts with your community, it starts with your state, then the country. There is nothing you're going to build from above. It's from bottom. So it starts with our school. Our school. Imagine how powerful that school can be. Now, when we see how governance is not as good as we want it in this country, people keep forgetting that everybody in government today went to a school. So they must have a classmate. Now, if I'm not able to tell you, Moji, you're doing something wrong, then there's something wrong about that. We should be the first ones to caution our people. We, the mates. You see, so it boils down to that school community. We can build on it, we'll get a better system, and all of us will be happy about it. But I really believe in that. So we'll work towards it. I mean, I believe we can act on that.
I almost said amen.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alex. It really has been.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, a lot of insights into many things. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, okay. So, all right then.
All right.
Thank you everyone for watching this. And I'm sure you learned a lot from him. And one of the good things he has said is, don't just criticize anything. You can do something about it. Do whatever you can about it. Yeah. And thank you all once again. Until the next guest. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.